guys? It's Ian. We're going to be talking about the Jaguars today because you guys know I'm a huge Jags fan. Um, and today we're going to talk about my top five bold predictions. One of them to me is not very bold. It could be, we'll see. But I've got a lot of faith in this team right now. This is probably the most excited I've ever been. Done so many good things this offseason. Eric Armstead was a great addition. So many things we've done to address a lot of needs. So with that being said, I've got some bold predictions or predictions in general that I think this season is going to do for the Jags. Starting off with the least, it's a bold prediction, but it's not the boldest. And actually, you're going to see there's kind of a trend with some of these, especially my number one, because I have a feeling that one of the units on this team are going to be very good. So at number five, we've got that the Jaguars are going to be a sleeper team until the end. You can kind of already see that in the offseason, which is why I don't think this is a bold prediction. It kind of is because, like I said, they could be that sleeper all the way through. And the reason for that is because the AFC South is loaded with talent, very loaded with talent. Houston Texans have done a very good job of surrounding CJ Stroud and bulking up their defense. We did the same thing. I think the moves we've made were either lateral or better, which is why I think we're going to be a sleeper because everybody's got the taste in their mouth. Is Trevor the guy? Blah, blah, blah. Should we pay him? The answer to that's absolutely. That's in time for another video. But the Jaguars are going to be sleepers basically because, like I said, the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts, and you could even throw Tennessee in there. Fuck Tennessee, but they've done decent job of surrounding Will Levis, which is why I think there's some people that think we're going to be last place. I don't buy that. In Indianapolis, I don't think they're going to be as good as us, only because I see the hype with Anthony Richardson. I'm not bought in on Anthony Richardson. He has not proved it. You want to talk about paying Trevor and he hasn't proved it, blah, blah, blah. Anthony Richardson has not proved it to Minshew, to me, might have potential to have a better ran offense in Indy than what Anthony Richardson has, only because Anthony Richardson is so raw. He's got all the talent in the world. He's just so raw. He's barely got 20 games under him, like when you count his college and his NFL career so far. It's just, I don't like what I see from him in that regard. He's a question mark to me. Regardless, that is why I think the Jaguars are a sleeper team, because it's the Jaguars. The NFL media does not like to cover the Jaguars. They don't like to talk about the Jaguars. So week in and week out, the Jaguars are going to be a sleeper team, and I like that because I think we will play better because we're the underdogs a lot of times and not talked about. At number four, this is where it slightly gets more bold, where I think Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Brian Thomas Jr. are going to all combine for at least 750 yards each. I think they're all going to be 750-yard receivers. I think you're going to have four of them on this team. You could throw in some other takes like ETN hitting 1,000 yards, whatever. But I think this is a fairly bold take because Gabe Davis, he's not hit that many yards. Evan Ingram has, which is not the bold side. I think Christian Kirk definitely has. And Brian Thomas Jr., he was very high on everybody's list coming into the draft. He was the number 4 receiver when the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted him. He is now not worth the 23rd overall pick, even though before the draft he was slated to go 17, which is where we traded back from. Again, the media just hates the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said, this is going to be my top 4. This is when it starts to get a little bolder on my prediction list. At number 3, the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. Now, is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. To me, they have to sweep the Titans and they have to split with the Colts and the Texans, which I think they can do. Like I said, last year we were not playing very good football and we were able to sweep the Indianapolis Colts, and they pretty much stayed the same, and we were able to split with the Texans. And like I said, I think the first game was a little bit of a fluke, but we beat the Texans when we were on our skid, we're down. So yes, and like I said, I think the Titans are going to be a weird team. They're very hard to judge because of the age at wide receiver. They could potentially have a lot of injuries. Will Levis could potentially not be very good, but he could also show out a little bit. He's got a big arm. But that wide receiver room is old in the right side of their offensive line. Not very good. They definitely regressed at running back, but they've acquired enough talent to where they can see if Will Levis is the guy. I understand where they went with that. But like I said, I don't really see them being as a more than 7-win team. But the Texans and Colts are definitely going to be a tough competition, which is going to get us ready for the playoffs. With that being said, this is a more bold prediction because Trevor Lawrence has not hit these numbers in his career yet. But I do think Trevor will throw for 4,500 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. So the trend for this offseason was to help Trevor. You replace the center position, which is going to really bolster this offensive line. I mean, I don't think people realize how bad Luke Fortner played. And, like, I don't think we should cut him. I think we should let him sit a year behind Mitch Morse, learn, grow, strengthen up, and then potentially ease back into the role next year. Because you only got Mitch Morse for 2 years, and you could cut him if if, like I said, Luke Fortner takes a jump. The offensive line faced a lot of injuries last year and suspensions and all that, and they really never played together. And now with Mitch Morris making the center stronger, I really think that this has the potential to be a top 20 offensive line, but not top 10. It's going to be middle of the pack, which is fine. It's going to help the offense out. Now, with the play calling, we're always going to have that question mark about Press Taylor. But if it's true that he called the second half of the plays in this 2022 season, I have no reason to believe that with the weapons they've surrounded Trevor with and an improved and a better offensive line, that the offense is going to hum a lot better. Again, Ridley was rusty for the first part of the year. Christian Kirk went down. Zay Jones went down, which made Ridley's job harder. And like I said, I don't think he was a bad receiver. I just think he had some issues within the offense and the communication and all that, when Zay Jones and Christian Kirk went down, defenses were really able to highlight that and the poor offensive line play. So I think that's going to really improve this offensive line and the offensive play altogether. And now you've got deep threats that Trevor has not had yet in the NFL. And you don't just have one, you have two. So now you're going to have guys going deep. You're going to have guys underneath who accept. I mean, Evan Ingram is a top 5 tight end, and you could argue he's one of the best tight ends underneath. And Christian Kirk, dude is a dog in the slot, and he's been thrown all over the place. He will be able to excel in the slot with Gabe Davis on the outside, who leads the NFL in yards per reception by a far margin since he's been in the league. And Brian Thomas Jr. obviously was a red zone threat in college, had the most touchdowns of all rookies at the wide receiver position coming into the NFL. Love to see that. Trevor's going to finally have an arsenal at his disposal. Not to talk down on Ridley, but this wide receiver group will complement each other far more than what he's ever had in the NFL at this time. And then my boldest prediction, and honestly, this is one where people are going to be like, that ain't that bold. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Eric Armstead are going to combine for 35 sacks or more. Look, Josh Allen just had 17 and a half. Trayvon just had 10. That's 27 and a half sacks. It led the NFL as an edge rush duo for the amount of sacks they had at 27 and a half combined. And they did that with a very subpar interior defensive line. Eric Armstead comes into the mix. I think he's going to be able to run, 5 or 6. I think Josh Allen has potential to get around that 17 number again. And Trayvon, I expect to take another leap with Ryan Nielsen as the defensive coordinator. Jags fans, if you have not researched Ryan Nielsen at all, let me tell you one stat that is going to make you really pop. If you don't know who he is, he's a very gritty punch defensive coordinator where, like, these guys are going to be playing fast. They're bringing it to them. It's going to be awesome. Look at the Atlanta Falcons sacks in 2022 compared to 2023. The Atlanta Falcons had 22 in the season 22, 21 sacks as an entire defense in 1 year under Ryan Nielsen. And look at their edge rushers. They don't have anything crazy. They have Grady Jarrett, who's an interior D-line who didn't have a lot of sacks. They've got Arnold Embiketti. They have a bunch of mid to good defensive. They do not have a Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen and Eric Armstead on that team. They doubled their sack production and got 42 sacks last year. Literally from 21 to 42 in 1 year under Ryan Nielsen. And that is why Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead will at least combine for 35. And that, I think guys like Armstead, I think if you bring in some of those rookies that might have got hurt, like Ventrell Miller, not that he's playing on the line, but Devin Lloyd, these guys might rush a little bit. Safeties on the outside, Savage, Darby, whatever. Cisco might come down. So I think the unit as a whole could potentially hit 45, but I think those three will hit 35. And I think Jags fans, if you, like I said, if you don't know who Ryan Nielsen is, look him up a little bit. He is going to have this defense humming, and this is going to be a very complimentary football team. A lot of times last year and the year before, the defense would step up when the offense stepped up, or was stepping down, and vice versa. The offense would do what it needed to do when the defense didn't. This year, both units should be performing where they should be. Again, it's cool to have that complimentary football where one's not going up, the other one is. But when they're both humming, that's why like I said, I think this team is going to be slept on because it's the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, is he the guy? Blah, blah, blah. This guy's going to have a career year, and the Jags need to sign him before training camp. And whether you agree with that or not, look at the facts when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. One, who else is better that you can actually get? Nobody. Trevor Lawrence is young. He composes himself correctly. Again, I know 2023 did not go the way we wanted to as Jags fans, but if you look at the 2022 season, that back half of the season, I saw more than enough glimpses. I'm telling you, when they were down 17 to the Cowboys, boom. The defense played its part, but Trevor Lawrence was on fire when he was playing those teams. When he was playing contenders like the Cowboys. Make the jokes about the Cowboys all you want. They're a playoff team, and they went and beat them at their own game. Granted, the defense was the one that got the pick six, but Trevor Lawrence was a big part of the reason they were in that game. Look at the Ravens game in 2022, where they were down, and Trevor led them right down the field and then went for that 2-point conversion, and I'm telling you, then another big game, obviously throwing 4 interceptions in a playoff game, not what you want. But this is a year 2 guy, and what happened? He showed his composure, went down and scored 4 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to win a playoff game in Jacksonville in a fashion that the NFL has never seen. You have never seen a quarterback throw 4 interceptions, turn around and win the game. Especially when a defense didn't turn the ball over. So, have I seen enough from Trevor? Absolutely. I would sign him today for 50, 55 million, whatever he needs to stay in Jacksonville. I would sign it. If he needs a 5-year deal, 10-year deal, whatever he needs to stay in Jacksonville, I would 100%, without a doubt, clear conscious, sign the paper. It would be done today if that's all, like, if that's what he wants. That's just me. And I'm not a fanboy. Does Trevor have things he needs to work on? Absolutely. Every quarterback in the league does. But this is the first time that the Jaguars have honestly, truly surrounded him with all the tools he needed. And granted, that's just pen on paper right now. He's got a solid O-line, hopefully. He's got good wide receivers. The only thing I'm really missing is Doug Peterson calling plays. And then he will literally have everything he needs to succeed, in my opinion. And like I said, there's not a doubt in my mind that he's going to go out there and light it up this year. Proud to be a Jags fan. You guys drop a follow. I'll be posting videos like this all the time. I've got some more time on my hands now, so I can post these videos. You guys know I'm part of the PI podcast. We're still doing the podcast, but I don't want the fan base to be all Jags on the PI podcast. We follow all the NFL over there. Pratesh is a Falcons fan, so I don't like. I'm cool with that, but I want this channel to have all the Jags fans on. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.